This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MtG Cabal Cast with your hosts, Woad, Thirsty, and Reptar. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MtG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
Hey guys, welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal Cast. We've got a little bit of another year-end wrap-up, basically, but rather than what we think at the end of the year, we're going to be covering what we think at the beginning of the year as your good post-holiday rebound targets that might not have necessarily recovered from the lull or might still be a little bit depressed due to upcoming tax season or BNR announcements, like naming Urza 4 times when you ban 2 cards and not one of the cards not being Urza. I don't know, Monastery Mentor called and said, what are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. Anyways, just what we think is going to recover. Products, singles, formats, whatever. So I'll let you start.
Okay.
Since I don't know what you're picking and you don't know what I'm picking.
Nope. But we both decided on formats first, which I think was pretty neat. So I think this is where we see Pioneer rebound. I don't think we've seen it depress entirely, but I think coming into the upcoming Magic Fest season, this is where we're going to see cards like Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, that have just been kind of sawtoothing for a little bit, between $13 and $16 on the CK buy list, will finally take off. And we're kind of seeing it on stocks right now. I'll bring that up.
Yeah.
It's on been on a very, very slow uptick, where I think, and I've said it for a while, eventually it's going to happen. Dig Through Time's going to go once we figure this out, and we're going to see Pioneer just run away. It's not going to become ridiculously overpriced, but we're just going to see a lot of these cards that have been stagnant for a while finally take off once there's buy-in. Yeah. We're coming up, and I want to bring up the CFB event site. I should have left it up.
We've got Jan 30th Pioneer, 31st Pioneer, Feb 6th Pioneer.
Yep.
Reno is Return to Theros Limited, and then we have 2 Theros back-to-back on March 16th and 13th.
Yep.
And then it's Pioneer.
Yep. Pioneer PTQs every day at all these events as well. So if it's not a Pioneer main or Reno, then it looks like there's Pioneer at every event coming up. And because of this, we're finally moving into the end of the 2019 extended season. Not the format, just an awkwardly long season, which is made of 6 quarters instead of 4, I believe. This is going to be a point in time where they push Modern. I think they're going to push Modern down a little more coming out of this extended season, pump Pioneer up, but because we have so many Pioneer events, this is truly where the format takes off in terms of price and hopefully popularity as well. Do I want it to overtake Modern as a player? No. As a financier, I think it's fine. Both of these formats are infinitely reprintable, and as long as people are playing this game, it's better for everybody. I don't care. Like, I can finally pull apart my Affinity deck from 2003. You know, Mox Opal is...
DM us on Twitter, paying $25 for all Mopals.
Yeah, right. Mox Opal is the Mishra's Workshop of Modern. Don't at me.
I mean, that tweet was correct.
Yeah. You think about it a little bit, and that's exactly what it became. And so you just cut it loose. It's just laziness in the delay, but that has nothing to do with Pioneer. That is the first thing that I think takes off this year. I think it's just a format that runs because it's taken so long. To go. People like this format; they're enjoying it. It's not really solved yet, quote unquote, and I think that has more to do with the fact that there's no 1 or 2 control archetypes yet. I think once those lock in, that's when the format will be a little more quote-unquote solved, because then aggro's got to evolve and you have this kind of
triangle again.
Yeah. Aggro's been evolving this entire time, and control has yet to catch up really to any of those builds. It got there a little bit, and then Chunky Red just kind of blew it all away.
Took over everything,
So that's where I think we're going to go first and foremost.
So I am going to my baby, Legacy. So Legacy's not dead. The sky is still falling somewhere. Competitive Legacy still exists. It is one of the most dedicated communities of, player base wise, and they're going to keep it afloat.
Yes.
Jeremy has a 20K coming up. I'm running some 5Ks. NRG is starting to break out into the larger portion of the Midwest. And they want to do Legacy. They've said Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, whatever.
NRG
We're
is
running Legacy as much
Nerd
as we
Rage
can.
Games, right?
Yeah.
The team that used to sponsor Joe Lossett, or the companies like those guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does commentary for them now because it turns out, when Top's gone, he can't win.
That's fair.
So they're running their trials all over the Midwest, kind of like a smaller Star City circuit. Okay. And they're starting to take their invitationals and their 5Ks and their 10Ks outside of Illinois. So they're doing events in Indiana. They're doing some events in like Michigan. Mm-hmm. They're starting to expand that out. So you're starting to see this like community movement take off. And I think that within the next 6 to 8 months, you'll start to see these regional TOs, maybe not Pastimes, obviously, or Legion, but like a Nerd Rage or a Pink Bunny or a Mana Drain, someone like that, try to pick up the slack in an individual area and just start bumping Legacy up.
Okay.
And the more that happens, the more that those events exist, the more that people will try to get into the format. Because the nice thing about this is, or get back in or start playing again, when you have a place like Nerd Rage that does this trial, you can play in the store. You can win a trial to get on there, or you can just have store credit that you get from running events to participate in their Legacy events.
Okay.
It's not like a Star City where you have to buy a list to get in there. You can literally just churn weeklies into dual lands at NRG and end up with your Legacy deck. And I think that that's kind of where the format's going, is more of the grassroots, the community, the alpha LGS type of deal.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It sounds a lot like the way Star City kind of got into Legacy in the first place. For anybody that used to follow them in the early 2000s, they started with the vintage 10Ks or 50Ks, whatever it was. They hadn't even begun to touch Legacy yet. They were playing vintage.
Yeah.
And then moved into Legacy, and then that became the Open Series.
Yeah, and when Legacy was dead before, Star City came in and saved it. Mm-hmm. They said, Wizards isn't going to support it. We've got you guys.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, they're not supporting it. Neither are we. But our buy list numbers went up on a bunch of this stuff. There's nothing going on here. This is just to meet EDH demand. I love you, Ben, but I'm skeptical. And I think that as the year evolves, you will start to see the prices start to recover on that. Obviously, duels still have EDH demand. They're not going to go anywhere. But like Force of Wills right now, numbers are dirt. We paid $50, $60 all weekend at the SCG because they're so illiquid. Because EDH players only want one. It's the type of card that most casual EDH players, it's at like the top of what they're willing to spend, and they'll just swap it from deck to deck to deck to deck to deck. They don't want multiple copies. Yep. So it's just not as liquid as it was. So the price is starting to deflate, at least on GP floors. Mm-hmm. And I think you'll start to see that those start getting scooped up, prices start to recover, and then the format takes off again.
No, I think you're right. It's just a matter of time. There's always been a dedicated Legacy following somewhere. When I was just getting into Legacy when I went to college, I was following TMD, the Mana Drain, their opens. NYSE was still mainly vintage, and there was some stuff going on in Northern California, but I forgot where it was. And eventually, it all kind of fell away as far as Legacy was concerned, and just kind of turned into, I think it was in Ohio. The Mana Drain opens stayed in Ohio, but they mainly stayed Legacy. So 10 years later, when I was looking to play Legacy, when I was living in Kentucky working for Troll, if they didn't end the series kind of abruptly, I was going to start driving 4 hours to play Legacy.
And that's the thing, is that Legacy players, if it's for a day tournament, they'll get up at 6 a.m, drive the 4 hours, get there at 10 when Reg starts, just to play their format. And you don't have to do a whole lot for it. I mean, people do it for 1 and 2Ks.
Yeah.
Just to play.
Yeah, because you don't get the opportunity to play against a lot of other players, in a face-to-face fashion. And it's kind of not, I don't want to say embarrassing for the game, but this is a format people like, and so cutting the legs out from underneath it at a large level is fine if WotC doesn't want to support it at Magic Fest, because I get that it's exclusionary, and I get you can't put up the same numbers that you would hope to with a modern or standard Magic Fest. I get that.
You had a 2,000 person Legacy GP in Europe after you announced you were canceling it when the states didn't break 1,000 most of the year.
Yeah, but that's because they're not running it the same in the U.S. as they are in Europe. Just hands down.
I know. That is also very true.
We haven't had a Legacy Magic Fest in years in a location that was worth a damn within the U.S. And we've talked about this before. If you want, you cut back on Vegas and you make it could be, semi-annual on the coast, east and west. You put one out in Seattle or somewhere easily accessible in California, and you put the other one in Boston or outside New York City or outside
DC or somewhere, anywhere
where it's easy to fly internationally into those locations, and then you have Pan Atlantic and Pan Pacific competition come into the coast because it's easier to get there than for those people to come in and then hop again to
wherever they're going.
Yeah. And Vegas isn't necessarily a vacation destination for a lot of people either.
And it's the event. I've discussed this with some other vendors as well. We feel like the event started to lose some of its luster.
Yeah.
Like, most of us just go there and we don't even do anything Magic related. Like, there's a large number of vendors that literally go there and just go to the casinos all weekend.
Oh, yeah.
They hardly touch the hall at all.
Yeah. Or they set up knowing they're not really going to be doing a whole lot of business and it's just all written off as an expense. They're there. They have a booth there. If somebody buys or sells, awesome, but you're there for the weekend kind of thing. Like, it happens. The first Miami was like that. There were because I was after the first Vegas. A number of people just got the booth to get the booth. If it worked, awesome. If it didn't, we don't come in Saturday or Sunday. We just hang out on the beach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to us. What do we care?
Yeah, because that's a vacation destination. Like, in the first Vegas, was the second one too. Was just a bunch of hoopla for the master sets, and then the 4-day awesomeness. That was great. There's a lot of things they can do to improve the legacy experience of a Magic Fest. I will say that if they put a Magic Fest in SeaTac and actually rolled out like old WotC physical marketing product into that place, I would, and I knew that ahead of time, I would be there hands down to see like the 93, the 96 like physical marketing materials and shit like that. Play the event or not, I don't care, man. That's just like that is a celebration of the game. Here's a Legacy Magic Fest and all this awesome like arcana from the game.
Great stuff that like you grew up with if you're old enough, or if you're just finding it now, look at the history. This is,
art displays and shit like that. That's how you
guess what? 7th edition, Sarah Angel's back, and she's legal. Who thought?
Yeah, like mind-boggling at rare. Like, what are you doing? Shiv and Dragon in the same set. Holy crap! Sengir Vampire comes out. What is it? The next fall in Torment.
Yeah. It was good.
And then
that's where I think it is. Might be different, but who knows?
No, I think it's a good way to look at things. I think Vintage is kind of gone aside from the independent scenes, and anybody who wants to keep it alive and float that goat. But Legacy, it didn't need time off. It just needed it just needed somebody to want to dedicate to it and dedicate to it correctly. And
sure.
I think that's what we're seeing. And it's nice to see that we kind of picked a new format and an old format to talk about. There was a little bit of product I was going to talk about quickly, and it kind of falls into singles as well with the Mythic editions, or not Mythic editions, I'm sorry, Collector's editions? What the shit are these things? The one that came out with Eldraine Collectors? Secret? Whatever these dumbass sets are. The one for Eldraine has finally fallen back to initial asking price on the open market on TCG Player. That was kind of we hit the low water mark, so to speak. And I think this product it's going to cool, especially now that Oko has basically been erased from the game, save for Legacy and Vintage.
Yeah.
And once that heats off and a lot of the singles kind of restabilize, we're going to see that product kick off, and I think this cycle is something we're going to be able to follow.
Yeah. I think, especially after today, you got one thing right. Hallelujah. I think we may see a little bit of a dip because the chase card was Oko. And that's, if you want to go by chase, which you never should, there was a little bit of a driver there. And I think that now is like a good time because, like you said, we're back to like low water level. It's not going to get any lower than this.
Nope.
Even like distros are finally out, by the way. Just like 3 weeks ago, distros sold out of collector boosters.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this up right now. The lowest one on TCG is $420 with $20 shipping.
Blaze
after,
it.
Yeah. After that, it's $575 with basically $600, and then up to $800. Like, so you can see that people have been buying up these editions because the price just jumps so radically, and there are only 6 left. So I think this might be the cyclical motion we're going to see for these, at least this year's sets, because we all know they're juiced.
Yeah, and especially because now we know, Return to Theros, Theros of Eldraine, as the cases say. This also has a collector set that we're going to see, and I think that'll have, it's similar to when, what set came after Horizons?
After Modern Horizons? Core 20.
Yeah, so Core 20 hit, and all of a sudden Modern Horizons fell off the face of the earth. Nobody cared anymore. Prices tanked. The meme where the guy's, holding the hand and looking behind him, M20's back here and Horizons is here. Well, we got this thing with these cards that need to be restricted in Vintage over here, so we're going to buy this.
Yep.
This has like 10 over here that need it, but whatever.
Well, neither here nor there.
And I think that we may see it with Throne now that we're at pre-release weekend, where all of a sudden there's a little bit of a lack of liquidity and the cycle starts.
Yep.
So
that's something I've been thinking of since I saw that tweet. Somebody mentioned it, and it was just kind of struck a chord because of all the fanfare that was around this, and now we're figuring out what editions of what cards we need to buy moving forward with all this borderless and promo pack stuff. Everything's kind of fallen into place. The numbers on it were true for a fairly long time at a high water mark, and now the bottom has effectively it didn't truly fall out, so effectively is the wrong word there, temporarily fell out, and we're going to see this spin back up, and I think we're going to see the same thing happen for the rest of these. So this product, while it might have been a little dicey to start out with, I think we're going to see more people kind of push for this product, and it's going to become more popular because now they know that even in the worst of times, when you have to ban everything out of the set that's playable, it's still going to be worth like 1.5x retail.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it'll still be fine for sure. My choice for product is actually, incidentally, the front half of that meme, Modern Horizons.
Okay.
So, looking at prices over the last little while, obviously, Ren got banned. Urza's going to get banned one day. There's plenty of cards in there that are going to get banned, but you're starting to see the rares, which had bottomed out, recover pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. It was just a couple weeks ago that Force of Negations were down to like $20 on GP floors. And you're starting to see them with $22 buy lists now on GP floors. So when that starts happening at the large-scale vendors, of course, it's going to trickle down, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you're finding vendors that are paying $3 on Force of Vigor right now, which is TCG low. And I generally like to think that vendors are a little bit ahead of the game in that regard.
Yep.
Because eventually, people like me and some others, we hoover up all the ones we can and dump them to GP buy lists for a profit. When that happens, it floats the value of the set when the money is tied into the rares and the uncommons. Like Icefang Coatl, for example, is suddenly a $5-6 card.
That's the one that actually I've thought about the most. Even over the last few weeks, this card is too good to not be played with or without Oko in this format.
Yeah, the card is very, very good. And I mean, you look at the trajectory that it's had, and it seems like, well, this is obviously starting to rebound here. We should probably, look at this.
Yep.
But boxes are still around $180. They're still at, I think it's $184 when I checked just a second ago on TCG. So that was the price after it came out. And if you look at even some of the mythics, More Fun in December hit all-time low at about market of $4.15.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was just super duper cheap.
It's doubled since then.
Ooh.
So you're starting to see these singles, and for whatever reason, the sealed price is lagging behind. So if you have it, that's something I would start looking at, because they also did move for a while. So now we've got a booster case for $1,100, boxes for $184.93 with shipping included, and it's not a small number. It's like everyone has them for that. There's 7, 1, 6, and then there's 70 at 189.99 before it hits 190. Seems good.
Yeah, and you're just looking at the product sealed as a whole, right? Just sit on it.
Yeah, just the product sealed as a whole, rather than like a particular card or anything. But I think that's good, especially now. Honestly, Yawgmoth combo is probably the play in Modern.
Yep.
So Yawgmoth is going to move up a little bit more. Not that that's going to move the needle on sealed product, but that gives you an extra hit. So. Yeah.
No, I like that. This isn't a product I think about a lot in regards to sealed. I think about it in terms of singles because something's always coming up in conversation, either because it's in a deck list we're talking about, or because it did nothing like Morphon and then doubled almost overnight. I brought the graph up. December 26th was its initial recovery, and then 5 days later it basically doubled.
Yeah, same with First Sliver. First Sliver was down to like $3.
Yeah.
And now it's at like $8 with shipping. Sure.
Yeah. No, we're finally seeing that kind of come in, and I don't know if a lot of that has to do with the fact that people finally realize we're not getting another run of this. What's out is out. They're not printing more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, that's definitely something good for people who want to sit on it sealed. What do you think the timeline would be, though?
So here's the thing. I want to say that the timeline is realistically 6 to 8 months.
Before you sell out, or before
you can like sell out for probably a $50 profit if that's what you want to go for.
Okay.
The thing is, Wizards may just decide to, I don't know, emergency ban 2019. We should be so lucky. And if that happens and they're like, see you later, bye. Okay, I guess it's worthless all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I guess Autumn Veil is banned or Veil of Summer is banned in every single format ever. I'm not bitter. And
never not.
Yeah, clearly not. Wizards could dumpster it, but that's always the risk you take.
Yes.
But I would say about 6 to 8 months probably.
Okay, that's not bad. Just get one last little thing because it's a pain in the ass to find, since it uses the name of a piece of power. But it is in reference to what I was going to bring up next. So the last point I want to bring up, and I don't mind continuing to discuss if you have more, is actually power and historic cards. And when I say historic, I mean original art associated with the game.
Yeah, so like Sarah Angel, of course.
Shazam.
Stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And because a lot of that's stagnated, and people want to point to the Bitcoin market's stagnation, where there was, that market has been fluctuating super aggressively, and not a lot of people have sold out to buy in. That was the initial spike years ago, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that, aside from the fact that the crypto market is volatile, I don't buy into a lot of that cruft.
Yeah.
But what I think we are going to see this year is all of these, not old school playable cards, but a lot of these historic cards rebound. They'll rubber band back. A bad example, but good at the same time, is actually going to be Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and from about September to, let's say, September 2018 to August 2019, it's basically flat at about $1,500. It spikes, and then it tanks. Now, this is a card that kept its value because it's playable in Vintage, but it's also historic to the game. The reason it tanks is because it's really no longer played in Vintage, and we had that big hoopla surrounding Eternal Weekend. The dip starts around October 16th, which was 2 weeks before Eternal Weekend.
Yep.
Right? So we see that, and this is the card that people are finally realizing is not as good as they think it was in Vintage, so it loses that. But at the same time, it also comes back up and settles above its floor. It's still trending at about 1,300. It's down.
Market,
yeah. But I believe this is that kind of card. It's not a piece of power. It's historic.
Yeah.
Jozam, same thing. This card has been flat effectively since July of 2018 at a little over 2K. It seems like a ton. Compared to what it used to be, it's already grown a lot. I don't know how much more room there is to grow on Jozam, but it's an iconic piece of art.
Yeah.
it's going to go. An easy piece of power to look at, Sapphire. Flat. I mean, you look at the... I hate stocks for this kind of graph, but you look at it compared to TCG market, and it's up and down and up and down. But essentially, it hovers around 2,700 on average. It dips, and now we're finally settled at about 3K. This is a card that I think is going to rebound probably to 32, 35 by end of year. And this last card that I was looking up, this is an old school playable. It is EDH playable, and this kind of represents a better idea of what's been happening with old school cards that are playable, not in vintage, but mainly in old school and EDH. Recall from Legends. Yep. It's reprinted in 6th. And this is why it's a pain for me to find, because of Ancestral, right? But this thing starts tanking October 26th. It hits $88 on July 11th, 2019. But after that, the market has actually floated higher than the average the entire time.
Yep.
Up until basically this winter. This is a card that has been trending down over time with the rest of Old School and Power, etc. And you can see it very clearly in that graph, because this isn't a piece of power that is easily affected by TCG players' stock. There are generally recalls in stock, and they dance around, and so it's an easy graph to follow. So I think we're going to see power and historic cards buoyed. Dual lands kind of double dip on their quad dip in reality between formats. But these non-legacy playable cards are what we're going to see rise, and I don't think it's going to be that small that by end of year it's meaning under 10%. I think we're going to see an over 10% bump on a lot of these cards, and it is not going to be attributed to crypto. It's just going to be just natural attribution on this stuff. Not the sky is falling, let me get my nostalgia in. There right now is a glut of this stuff floating around from the vintage sellout, and when they go, these prices go.
Yeah. I also, along that same vein, Damping Field was one of my picks for a while. So stuff like that, I think on the lower end, like Recall or Kismet, like stuff that's, like you said, it's old school and EDH playable. It's not, you're not going to see a ton of it in vintage.
Yeah, it's not like Winds of Change and Underworld Dream that are specific to old school.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Recall, like I said, I brought up because it has application elsewhere. I've played this card in EDH before in Control.
Yeah. For singles, for me, it's going to be fetch lands.
Okay.
I think, going along with Legacy, and if Wizards ever gets their head out of their ass and learns to stop cannibalizing both of their own programs for online play, their two most popular formats, their player bases, no hope. Anyways, if that ever happens, fetches are going to recover. Plus, EDH exists, and everyone wants fetches for EDH. So my pick for the recovery would obviously be the Khans fetches, because the Zendikar fetches, we run the risk of seeing it return to Zendikar. So
and then a quick ban into Pioneer, so all 10 are banned. Yeah.
Whatever, guys. You do you, Watsy. I give up.
No, I it's not a bad call, because that is the groundwork for the format.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're already seeing the shocks recover from their third printing. Unless they keep printing them into core sets or into standard, they'll take off again.
Yeah, they will.
But the fetches were here and then they were gone. So it makes sense. And we don't know, as I talked about with Pioneer, what really happens after the end of this extended season from 2018 finishes up. Yeah. We don't know if it's going to be more Pioneer or more Modern, and the assumption is that it's going to be based on attendance at physical events, the player satisfaction levels, playing the formats on paper, and then I would assume some kind of moto data mixed in, any number of variables they won't use.
Yeah.
Or forget. So, we had a conversation about Modern in the Discord today, and somebody was talking about whether or not they wanted to should offload their extra shocks, and it comes down to exactly that. If you need the cash now, do
it.
Yeah.
But if not, I don't think there's any reason to while they're deflated. They're gonna recover.
Yeah.
It happened the last time they were reprinted. It happened with Fetchlands when they were reprinted. Like, staples like that are multi-format staples will always recover.
Yep. And once these tournament series fill in and we know what's coming up for the rest of the year at RE Fetches, you're going to know whether or not you're going to win out or if they're just going to stagnate and you can get out. But we don't know when that's going to happen. I think the clock kind of runs out for everybody in May-ish. For what they have set up. Star City and WotC have their dates, but all their formats are TBA. So from there on out. No, I do like that. Anything else for?
No, those are the main things I'm targeting for the recovery. Really, there's not much else.
No, I think everything's pretty solid. Otherwise, it's I don't want to say it's obvious. You know, all the master sets have run their course. There's really not a lot going on. Battle Bond is. Took a little bit of a hit with the Lattice ban, but that's not really going to affect the price overall because of those silly lands.
It's a mythic, and the lands.
Lattice is still an EDH card, which is really what powers that set. You know, so I think all we have to look forward to in this coming year is 2 EDH sets, technically a third miniature one that is like 8 cards of mono green or something like that,
and commander decks with every set release. Fucking kill me.
Yes. Infinite and whoa, there's a draft product too, right? There's a commander draft product. It's like all legends all the time.
Yeah, some commander draft like.
Yeah, everything's a legend.
What? Oh God, I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
I still want to know what this unproduct is.
It's like 10 new cards and then a bunch of fucking reprints.
Yeah. Thrilling. Great. All right. Before you have your aneurysm, your pick for the week.
Yeah. Yes, my pick for the week is a spicy meatball, if I do say so myself. Sacred Guide. You're probably thinking, what is that card and what does it do? Thirsty, please tell me, and I will. So for 1 white mana, it is a 1/1 that reads 1 white, sack it, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a white card, put that card into your hand and exile all the cards exiled this way. The reason that card is great is because it helps shore up Flash Hulk lines. Which sounds, that card's banned. Of course it is, but you know what it is legal in? CEDH. And purely anecdotal here, but also there's financial data to back it up. CEDH has started exploding over the last 6 to 7 months. Courtesy, actually, I hate saying this, courtesy of Sheldon. His banning of Paradox Engine made competitive EDH explode onto the market because all of a sudden you couldn't ignore it. There was such an uproar. All this stuff happened that now you have a competitive area set up at command zones, at command fests, and it used to be one person, a GP or SCG, would come by looking for CEDH staples. Now it's about 4 or 5 a day at every GP. And you've got people that are starting to really get actively into this high-tier competitive casual format, according to Sheldon. And I think that that's going to be another market that's there to be exploited now, or, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I think that's
I think that Sacred Guide is good because it's a rare that it's not technically reserved list, but an effect like this is basically soft reserve list, similar to something like Static Orb or Winter Orb. You know, it's not something they're going to jump to the top of the list of reprinting.
Yeah.
And it shores up one of the most powerful strategies in the format. And right now, it's less than $1.
Yeah, it's a odd effects like this with Sacred Guide and what did I just buy the shit out of? Paradigm Shift, where you're just able to exile your library in one shot. Spoils of the Vault goes on that list. They don't make that often.
No.
And you might look at Sacred Guide and say, yeah, but you just hit another white card. Well, if your deck is 3 to 4 colors, but this is the only white card that you're able to 2 to 4, and then you flip your library, you can win in any number of fashions.
Yeah.
So
it's just, it helps your lab man lines. There's just a lot of things that it does that are really good. And I think it, you know, sub $1, like,
why not?
Why not, right?
And you can see the jump in the card, too. In the middle of January, I brought up the graph, but as a reminder, on January 9th, it basically starts to take an uptick from the 24 cents it was to 40 cents. Is there a buy list on this thing? I don't know.
And I think that Thassa's Oracle and Cyana, Captain of Plius, whatever, also help push this card up in power level.
Wait, hold on. What was that second one? Thassa's Oracle, everybody should know. It's the double blue 1/3 from Theros that is the better lab man.
Yeah. Siona, Captain of the Pyleus. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You reveal an aura card from them, put it into your hand, rest on the bottom in any order. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature you control, create a 1/1 white human soldier token.
Oh,
Basically, you win via Thassa's Oracle or Lapman, and you win like a turn and a half sooner because you get, with Siona as a general, you get a mono green creature deck with Sacred Guide, Enlightened Tutor, Idyllic Tutor, and Shielded by Faith.
Yeah.
Sacred Guide's a creature. He's very easy to find, quickly becomes Shielded by Faith to go infinite with Siona. So it adds another one.
Yeah. No, it's not bad. And the card's being bought right now by CK for 19 cents USD, 25 credit, which was the price a little over a week ago. So you could have immediately gotten out. Which is interesting. No, I like it. I don't really dabble in the world of CEDH. I've still been paying attention to Oathbreaker, though granted I have not been reading up a lot on that, so that's my fault.
Paradigm Shift and 4-mana Jace. Gas.
Yes. No, Paradigm Shift went by real quick when Thassa's Oracle was spoiled. There were a lot of people who were just like, you can do this or this or this or this. Here's 18 cards. And then Ben Blywis just came through and said, Island, Black Lotus, Reality Shift, Thassa's Oracle. Here you go, guys.
Yep.
And that's that. And Reality Shift is a reserveless card from Weatherlight, so that card went from nothing to everything. Almost.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah. You're hard-pressed to find this card now for... not Reality Shift. I'm so sorry. Paradigm Shift. Reality Shift.
Yeah, Paradigm Shift, yeah.
Favorite Forged. I'll bring this up so you can see the graph on it. We can all laugh at... Ugh. Wow, this thing actually spiked to over 5 for M19.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
That was around the time we started hitting it, actually.
Yes, that's right. You guys went after that. I did not.
Yeah.
I was like, this is silly. I've tried winning with Labman. It doesn't work. And then here we go. It's over $3.
Yeah. It doesn't have to work. Someone just has to think it does.
Well, I mean, in EDH, it just kind of goes in the same thing. I was joking with a friend of mine not a while ago, like 2 weeks ago. I was like, Leveler is a win con, dude. You should come back and play the game. And he's like, wow, the guy I work with has been telling me about Magic, has been telling me about the wrong cards. Yes, he has.
Clearly.
Labman, Jace, Thassa's Oracle, Leveler, Reality, Paradigm Shift. You can just... Who wants to have a library? Get it gone. Yeah. My pick for this week is a card that will be in Standard upon release of Theros Beyond Death. And this is a card that you had to react very fast on to get on at what effectively I thought is the bottom floor until the mobs hit. And it is Nightmare Shepard. So this is a card that you look at it and you're like, okay, this does a number of things. It fills the spot in Mono Black Devotion where Desecration Demon was as the flyer for 4. And it is also the Whip of Erebos slot as well. Now, Desecration Demon finished games because it got big quick. If you don't know what that card did, it basically was a 6/6 for 4 flyer. But the drawback on this was kind of interesting. You basically fogged yourself.
Yeah.
With just this demon. I'll bring. Nope. Yep. No, sorry one. So, at the beginning of each combat, any opponent could sack a creature to tap it, but it would get bigger. So, it would close out a game in one shot eventually by killing your opponent's board slowly over time. Meanwhile, you're taking over with Pack Rats and Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which was reprinted. So, what does this card do? Well, Nightmare Shepherd actually works very favorably with Grey Merchant of Asphodel. It comes in, it dies, it comes back again with Nightmare Shepherd. Okay, so how do you get that to work? Well, we already have Cats and Ovens.
We do.
So you can just sack Gary to the oven, and there you go. You also have the Jund legend from Brawl that I can never remember the name of that asks you to sack as well. Yeah, right? This is where I am right now trying to remember the name of this card. It's not Kethis.
No.
Let's see if I can bring this up while I'm talking. But that is also in another version of the deck. Piotr Golgowski played it at the Mythic Championship.
Yeah.
And that is also another sacrifice outlet in a very grindy deck. So this goes straight in there. Now the interesting spot is that I'm looking for this Brawl card to see if I can find it, because it's Corvald. There he is.
Yeah, Corvald, the one that non-foil buyless for 12 and the foil buyless for like 7.
Yeah. Corvald. When he enters the battlefield or attacks, sacrifice another permanent. When you sack a permanent, Corvald gets a counter, right? Works well with Gary, works well with Shepard. It just allows you to rebuy your value creatures.
Yeah.
Shepard also works with your commander. And this was something that passed by on Twitter as soon as this card was spoiled, because people just broke down mentally, and then it floated through Judge Discords a couple days later. Yeah. Corvald asks that when your creature is sent to the graveyard, that after it hits the graveyard, you exile it. All you have to do is attempt the exile. Your commander says if this creature would shift zones, you may replace that effect by putting it back in the command zone. So you let your commander die. This trigger goes on the stack. You attempt to exile it with Shepard, but instead you replace it to the command zone, and now you get a copy of your commander via the Shepard. So right now this is a card that has, I want to say, immediate standard implications, because it slots into technically one deck, but 2 versions. So it has a home in standard, and it has a home in EDH. In mono black value or just random black value decks, is just a good card. So why did I say you had to move fast on this? Because Card Kingdom sold them for 99 cents last week. I bought them out. I think they reloaded again at 99 cents. And then after that, they went to $1.50. Card Kingdom was under TCG until, I think, today. Card Kingdom is now selling this card for $3. TCG Player is now selling this card for $1.80. So there was, up until about today, a time where you could buy this card for less from Card Kingdom than a TCG Player was selling it. There was also an opportunity on eBay, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, the danger of doing this is the same as moving in on any rare, starting with Core 20, and that's the promo pack. We're also going to get, now, because of the way they do sets, full art and foils. At the 99 cents I spent on this, I don't feel like that's a bad opportunity. Yeah, exactly, right? I don't think it's a bad opportunity. Anything under $2 I think was fine. If you got in at $1.50 to $1.80, I think that's fine, because you're going to be able to trade this card if and when it pops somewhere. It's going to last. Yeah. Buy-lists are going to take forever to recover on this card. This card is an immediate out from player to player interaction, and then you just, if you're looking for cash, then you buy list whatever you pick up for. I don't think this is a buy list card in the short term, and just based on my tracking of a number of cards that have been in promo packs during this year, it's not going to be buy list within a year, unless this deck just pops off and this becomes like a $5 to $8 regular rare. I mean,
which probably won't happen.
I agreed.
It's not Gilded Goose, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and a Gilded Goose goes all the way down to Legacy. I don't think it's in Vintage. It wasn't in the Oath list, was it?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen. So this is a card that I think is very specifically a player-to-player card, and I think this is a card that if you got in early on, you can get out now, because you can see TCG players still floating over $2. And if you give it a couple of weeks, once Standard takes off, I'm pretty sure we're going to see this deck again, and Shepard should be in that deck. If not, there might be a Mono Black Devotion deck you can play, and then it should just kind of equalize out to about a $3 card fairly easily.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's still some sites out there, like maybe Cool Stuff or something, that still have some number at less than $1.50 too. So, do some homework.
Yeah.
You can get there.
A lot of times during pre-release, Harari is a good place to look, but they had not stocked Theros Beyond Death. I think it's either because there was officially no English translation of the card yet when I was buying them.
Yeah.
When the card was spoiled and I found it, I believe there was a foreign language and an English attempt at a translation. Eventually, the image came later, but Hara used 13 hours ahead, so they would not have the time to add to the site. But they're, out of region, so that's a good place to look.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm on right now. I also picked up some other odds and ends, but I don't think they're pick worthy for.
I think that's a really solid one, honestly.
I just went through the set and I picked some of the best cards that I thought. I think the only one that it follows a similar pattern, and maybe this is just a decent, by the way, is the Is It Rare.
Oh, yeah.
That thing was literally bulk. I bought this card for not 10 cents, but might as well have been.
Yeah.
Like under 30 or so. Dakos, Crafter of Wonders, 1, Is It, 2/4, add 2 colorless, spend this mana to only cast artifact spells or activate artifact. I mean, Mishra's Workshop is a very powerful card.
Yeah.
And then equipped creatures you control have flying and haste. The danger is that there are only so many Jeskai commanders that work with the equipment theme. Usually it's Boros, it's never Is It.
Yeah.
So you have to expand your range in EDH, and this is a card that's definitely going to get depressed forever by the full art and the promo pack, unless those cards just are ridiculously expensive, then this is going to be the go-to. But
yeah,
this was a bulk pickup that I thought was perfectly serviceable because, again, you can just trade it out.
Yeah,
like
that's good. I'm a fan.
My wife made fun of me. I was buying bulk. She's like, you should really consult me about these purchases. I was like, oh, baby, $5. Whew.
I mean, I'm sitting on like 400 Sarkans on Ceiling and just picked up a bunch more this weekend, so we all make poor choices sometimes.
I've only played that card like 2 or 3 times in EDH, and it has been a charm. It has won every game I played it. That card is insane.
It's a red enchantment with too much text. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. If you don't believe us that card is good, like Sunbird's Invocation, play it.
Yeah.
Then come back and let us know.
Yeah, please. I haven't played it. It's just a red enchantment with too much text. So.
Like Sunbird, yeah.
Yeah, like Sunbird's Invocation. Too much text. But look at that card. It's a thing.
Yeah. It gives everything. What is that mechanic? The Bloodbraid mechanic?
Cascade.
Yeah. It's like better Cascade.
Yes.
It's so good. So good. But I think it's going to be it for us this week, guys.
Yep.
We are at MtG Cabal Cast on Twitter. We've been feisty for the last few days. It's been all those chicken tendies.
Yeah. Money well spent.
Yeah. Also on Patreon, and we dabble on Facebook here and there. Yeah. I am at Halt, I am Reptar. You are...
at Thirsty Sizzler.
And you can find us wherever you can download a podcast. And we really enjoyed looking through all the comments we got last week, so please keep them coming.
Yeah, seriously, guys. I cannot stress enough. Please give us feedback. We love it. We want to make the cast better for you. And I can't remember the username that said the thing that separates us is giving the vendor perspective, which a lot of people don't. You're a rock star. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Yep, see ya.